would you rather shit in a toilet or shit in a hole? Is what he said, and I said, I'd rather shit in a toilet. So then I started hanging out with the Air Force recruiter. Basic training sucked. You're gonna be fine. You signed a contract and you're here, so you're gonna have to be fine. Like, figure it out. If anything, it's a great resume. Like, it just, and it's cool as shit, right? Like, I loved being a part of team sports. Like, it's a pretty badass team to be, like, I was just intrigued by the whole I wanted to be in. Like, you come right out of basic, like, pretty, like, brainwashed, hoorah, like, all about it, right? Give me a gun and send me somewhere.
All right, how you doing, Elizabeth?
I think good, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate you being here to tell your story. It means a lot. Yeah, just tell me a little bit about, your upbringing, where you were born and raised, and about your upbringing.
I was born in Ohio. I was raised by both my parents, and I have one older brother. He's 2.5 years older than me. We had a small dog while I was growing up, and when we were real little, we kind of hated each other. I think my brother wanted to send me back, and we fought all the time. But then when we were about, he was 12 and I was 10, we figured out that if we lied for each other, then we could get away with a whole lot more and have a lot more fun than if we kept telling on each other. So then we became really good friends.
What kind of dog did you have?
Well, my parents had a small poodle first, and then my dad was a big hunter, and so we kind of grew up in the country. His whole family is in West Virginia, so we would go down there a lot of summers and spend a lot of time with my cousins there. His mom, he's one of 9 kids, so I had a whole bunch of cousins there. Mostly, I was the only, I think this is probably like an important thing on shaping who you are, because of like the group of us, it was Sean, Shannon, Jason, Shane, and I was youngest of them and the only girl for a while, and then Megan came around, but she was later. But so I hung out with all the boys who never wanted to hang out with me. And then I would usually end up going down to my aunt's house, but it was just one dirt road, and my grandma's house was first on the street, and then my uncle was Sean and Shannon, and then Eva's house was further down. So when we'd ride 4-wheelers or go hiking through the woods and the boys would successfully lose me, I would just make my way down to Eva's house and hang out with her. I don't feel like I'm doing a very good job of being descriptive of, it's a real small town in West Virginia. It was Glenville, so.
Is it like country, like rural type of
area?
Yeah,
very much. It was a very big deal when the town got a Pizza Hut.
Oh, wow.
So.
What kind of things did you guys do for fun out there?
Well, we had 4-wheelers for a while, so we'd ride those around. We called it going mudding. So like after it would rain, we'd take them out and try to hit as many puddles as we could.
Nice.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun. I think it's funny, a lot of the stuff that we used to do when we were kids, I would never do now because it seems so incredibly dangerous. But
what can you describe a few of the things you used to do that were dangerous that you're talking about?
Well, I just thought of that because I said the 4-wheelers, and this. We tied 2 sleds to the back of one time to take him through the snow. And my brother was on the back one, and he fell off first, which made me like extremely excited because now I'm showing off that I've stayed on longer than he did, until I fell off and the back sled hit me in the face. I knocked out my front teeth.
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, I'd still do that again, just use one sled, I guess. But.
What high school did you go to?
Green High School.
Green High School.
I think our graduating class had like 400 people.
400 people?
That sounds right.
Wow. Did you participate in any activities in high school?
I did. I played softball and volleyball.
Oh, wow. Is softball something you played even before high school?
Yeah, I did my whole life. I played Little League. So that was always fun because you'd get to go out to the pizza place after the games, and if you hit a home run, you got to get free ice cream.
Wow.
So I always wanted to get free ice cream.
Yeah. I remember I played Little League since 5, and one of the best parts about it was going out to the pizza parties after. Did you also play volleyball before high school?
I don't remember playing volleyball before. Well, I played in middle school. Our that was when it started for school sports. Softball I played outside of high school too. I played on a traveling team, so like most of the summers, me and my mom went to most of the tournaments. We'd go, or well, it depended. So my dad coached me for a few years, and so we would travel. And then after he wasn't my coach, I moved on to a different team. Me and my mom would travel through to different states, but from 12 and under up to 18 and under, I played every summer. It's ASA softball.
So, do you recall when a point when you decided that you wanted to go into the military?
Yeah, so when I turned 18, I moved out of my parents' house. Me and my dad had kind of gotten into arguments, and because, like, looking back now, like, I was kind of a jerk, but I didn't think so at the time, so I left. And then I realized so I took a lot of college courses while I was in high school. So I was able to, by like midway through my senior year, I had enough credits to graduate from a tier 1 high school, just not green, because I think it required a specific like government class, but other schools don't. So I learned that by talking to the Air Force recruiter, so I guess I skipped a step. But, okay, so starting when I was about probably 16 is when me and my dad probably started getting into fights about stuff, because I didn't really appreciate the way he treated my mom, and I probably read more into it than I should have and got involved more than I should have. And I didn't think the way he treated me was very fair. I thought my brother got to do a lot of things that I didn't get to do, and I was just unhappy there. So we would fight a lot, and he kicked me out of the house a couple of times from like 16 to 18. And eventually it was like, look, I live here. When I turn 18, I'll leave. Because that was kind of the deal you signed when having a kid. You got to take care of me till then, and then I'll figure it out. And so on my 18th birthday, I packed up my car and left. So I then quickly realized trying to make enough money to pay rent and go to high school, and I was doing the college classes for post-secondary to try to graduate early. So you can skip a lot of college classes because they don't take attendance, which was a shocker to me when I first went there. But I took full advantage of that because they give you the syllabus to say what days, or at least this was the case in the classes I was in, that had the days the tests were on and the days the homework had to be turned in on. So I would just read the book and only show up on those days. So it worked out because then I could I worked at the pizza shop then, and I could make extra money instead of going to class. But I probably did that for like 6 months, and then it got a little old, and I kind of realized that, like, I don't want to be a waitress for the rest of my life, and I pictured doing it when I was 50 or 60, and I didn't really like the way that picture looked, and I'd been a jerk to my dad, so I'd blown off everything. Like, he wanted me to take college scholarships to play softball, so of course I didn't, because that would have made him happy. So then I was just like, well, I didn't keep going to school, but I don't really know what I'm going to school for. Like, I feel like a lot of people I talk to now have all these ideas about what they want to be when they like have a clear plan for their future. Like, I work with a lot of interns now, and they have this. I never had that. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I really just thought like I needed to get a degree. So I started taking classes towards business admin, but I felt like I'm just spending all this money and I didn't really have a goal. So I had no like repayment on it. And then I started talking to, it was an Army recruiter that I started talking to, and I don't really remember how I ended up in his office. Maybe they might have came to the school. But anyway, that's who I started talking with, and he showed me all the jobs that they offer and explained that they will train you to do a job and then give you that job and pay you to do it, which awesome, because I'm just taking a bunch of classes that aren't teaching me a whole lot to get me anywhere. So I was really attracted to the idea that you will train me how to do something, then send me somewhere to do it and pay me to do it. And then if I don't like that, there's this GI Bill package that I can go to school afterwards once I have time to figure out what I want. And I just thought that was like dead on an amazing deal that I wasn't getting anywhere close to that offer anywhere else. I was just paying for classes with no promise of any sort of job at the end of it. So I was in. Like, we went, I asked him what I needed to do, and well, then the real issue was passing a drug test. I smoked a lot of weed then. He asked me when I get scheduled to go to MEPS, and he asked when the last time I had smoked weed was, and I looked at my watch. And he's like, never mind, I guess that's my answer. Which is really funny, but that was what happened. So we had to put off the trip to MEPS for, I think, like 30 days. I don't remember how long he said, whatever. But I went and took the ASVAB with him. That was the test to see what your score is that determines what, how well you score, and that determines what jobs you can pick from in their book. So I think it was 89. I don't remember exactly what I scored. That sounds right, though. But whatever it was high enough that he said I could pick from, like, anything that was, maybe he gave me a section, I don't know, he handed me a whole big binder and said I could pick from anything that was in it. So maybe they have different ones for different ratings, I don't know. But that's when the Air Force guy, like, I guess his interest got piqued because you have to score higher to get in.
Right.
But he came over and started talking to me then. And he was like, would you rather shit in a toilet or shit in a hole? Is what he said. And I said, I'd rather shit in a toilet. So then I started hanging out with the Air Force recruiter.
That's funny.
Yeah. And that's what I ended up joining, was the Air Force. He was really nice. And I feel like he did his best job to prepare me for what it was going to be like when I went to basic training, because he told me there's a reporting statement that you have to say, like, before you can say your name or anything. You just have to say it all the time. And you'd think I'd remember it right now, probably because I'm so nervous I can't, but he taught me that, so I went in knowing that, and I thought I was like as ready as I could be, and I felt pretty good about it. I'd played competitive sports my whole life, and like I wasn't nervous about like the physical aspect. Like I didn't think basic training was going to be that hard. I was in like physically hard. I mean, I was in pretty good shape, and I wasn't that concerned about it. And then the rest of it, as he explained, was like just a mind game. So mind over matter. Think about the end point, and it'll be fine. And I was like, yeah, I've got this, no problem. I did 2-a-days my whole life. I'll be fine. 6 weeks is nothing. And then I packed everything up and went up to Cleveland, because we had to stay in a hotel. So I had a suitcase with me, and I thought once we got on the plane, and I knew there were certain things I wasn't allowed to take with me to basic training. They gave you a list of what you could and couldn't take. But I was going to be in a hotel for the night, so I took some gummy bears and cigarettes, like all the stuff I wanted for like my last night of freedom, right? And as it turned out, I didn't have any opportunity to ditch that stuff before. Once we got to where we landed at the airport, there were people in uniform screaming us to get onto a bus. So like, you can't stop at a trash can. There was no way I could have ditched that stuff. It was coming with me, and I'm like, I tried. So we get on the bus, and it's like everybody's looking around, I feel like, just as scared as I was, right? And
right.
but everybody's like too scared to talk, so we're just sitting there. Like, I guess we're on the right bus, like, right? Like, nobody verified our names or anything, I don't think. Like, we're just here. But obviously, they knew what they were doing. And we got there and it was dark when we pulled into the base, and they had us grab our bags and start to get off the bus. But like every few seconds they would say stop, and then you like pretty much running into the person in front of you, and they let you go a little ways and then make you stop. It was like pointless. It was just screwing with us.
Right.
But it worked, right? Because now everybody's like completely off guard. Like we kind of calmed down on the drive, and now we're back to wigging out. So thanks for that. But it was, so like to describe it, I guess, where they take you to the dorms at the base, we were on like a pavilion patio area, ground level, and then you go in, it's like warehouse dorms, right? Like it was lines of, ours was like A bay and B bay. So 2 like hallways in one big room, and it was single bunks lined up, like 2 down each side. So 4 rows of bunks. So 15 bunks for a total of 60, that would work out. And then there was a shower bay, which is a room like, I don't know, 15 by 15 maybe. And it has shower heads all around the sides of it. So everybody, you could file in, and you would have a shower buddy. So you only had like 2 minutes to shower. So you'd file in and you'd shampoo while they were under the water, and then you'd swap. So you could each get the most amount of time to shower as well as you could, right? I think it's funny. I was talking to a friend of ours about this the other day, that like I feel myself smiling right now, and which I think is funny because basic training sucked. Like, but like it's kind of fun to talk about now, I guess.
Yeah.
Like literally, the only reason I didn't cry is because the girl next to me cried every night. So like I felt obligated to talk her down from the ledge, so which made me stronger and deal with it better. But if she wouldn't have been there, I could have been the wreck. But we, so, all right, I'll back up. So we get there, and we're all lined up outside, and they're walking up and down the lines of us, yelling at us. Like, one girl wore a glitter shirt, which, why? Like, you have a pink glitter shirt on. Like, at least I wore a black t-shirt. Like, I tried to keep it. Which actually ended up getting me picked on. But like, I tried to be as like bland, like don't get noticed, don't let them know your name. So I wore a black t-shirt and jeans, which I thought would be like the epitome of better than pink glitter, right? And it worked for that night. She got picked on. But we eventually made it. They took us up to our room, and we all lined up in front of a bunk, and they dumped out all our suitcases, or maybe we had to dump them out, I don't know. And they were going around looking at everybody's to see what everybody brought, and like, smoke them if you got them was said to me, because I still had the cigarettes in my bag, because they took them away. You couldn't have that there. But one girl had, this was the story Amber was talking about, she wanted me to tell from basic training, was, so we're lined up outside our lockers, and like, I'm freaking out, but I'm kind of like, in my head, I'm scared, but trying to be strong and trying to convince myself, like, you're fine, settle down, you know, because you're going to be fine. You signed a contract and you're here, so you're going to have to be fine. Like, figure it out. And so, and one of the drill sergeants flung one of the girls' bags, and it had a Tweety Bird picture frame in it, and it broke when it hit something. And she was obviously like upset about it, but she's trying to, she can't show that she is, she's trying to stand there. And he was just yelling about how dumb that was to bring, like, and because it is kind of dumb, right? A Tweety Bird picture frame, but like, I get it. Like, you thought you were gonna bring something to remind you of home. like, but didn't your like recruiter tell you like not to? Because that's so. But she was mortified, and so anyway, what happened was he ended up coming over and like getting right in my face and screaming at me about like, do you have a problem with that or something? And like, I have no idea what possessed me to answer him with anything other than no, but I did. And so I told him, like, I don't know if I think I probably did the reporting statement. And I told him, yeah, I did. Like, I was like, look, like, I realized like that was really dumb on her behalf, but I feel like it obviously meant something to her, and you could at least like breaking her personal belongings. It cannot be a part of this, right? Like, that wasn't supposed to happen. So I feel like you should acknowledge that, you know, like that was your bad, right? You know that, right? And he did. And so I was very relieved and thought I might have got away with something. But then the next day we were down and he called me out to come talk to him. So first of all, oh shit, he does know my name. That was kind of what I was trying to avoid, so good one. But, and he said that he thought that the girls had respect for me for what had happened, and he asked if I wanted to be the dorm chief, so I'd be in charge of all of them for the duration of basic training. And honestly, what I said was like, I can't say no to that, can I? Because you're gonna like relentlessly pick on me if I say no to that. And he's like, you can say no if you want to. And I was like, gotcha. So, don't say no.
Right.
So I didn't, and I'm really glad I didn't, because that was a really awesome experience.
So were you the dorm chief throughout all the basic training?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was one thing I'm really proud of is our whole flight graduated together.
Awesome.
So, like, what that means is if you screw up or do something stupid, they call it getting recycled, so you have to go back a week of basic training, which may not sound like much, but when you're there, you'd be more than a little disappointed if it happened to you. But no, we made it all the way through, which I thought was pretty cool. We did a lot of in-house policing. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things were taken care of without the sergeants knowing about it, and that way everybody could graduate together.
Nice. One
of the girls, she was a particular pain in the ass that got us in trouble all the time. She would raise her hand, ask the stupidest questions, and just piss off all the drill sergeants. So then the rest of your day is shit because she's made them all mad at you. Mm-hmm. So first of all, she wasn't allowed to talk to anyone until she talked. She had to run all her speech through me. That limited a lot of the in-class interruptions. But I don't remember what. One of the girls did something and got us all in trouble, and I don't remember what she did anymore. The punishment's what I remember, because it was, so you have to keep the dorm super clean. So none of us shaved for weeks, right? Because first of all, you don't have time to do it, and who cares? You're in a dorm with 59 other females, and who cares? But I really wish I would remember what she did. Anyway, so we did our fair share of push-ups and running all day long. So when we got back to the dorm, everybody showered and shaved, and she had to clean the entire shower stall and everybody's little bitty hairs. Mm-hmm. That girl was up all night long, but she never screwed it up again. I don't even remember what she did. I remember the shaving because everybody was so excited. Like, if you haven't done it in a while, it can be kind of exciting. Because we had to stay up. We had male TIs, so they couldn't come up to our dorm after a certain time since it's a female flight. Mm-hmm. So, like, unless I called for a TI assistance or they did a random check, like, basically I could run the dorm. So I let everybody run the showers all night long and shave.
Were they all male drill sergeants?
It was 2 males that were assigned to our unit. There was the captain that was over us was a female. She was the one, the t-shirt that mentioned I wore a black T-shirt thinking that was gonna like let me fly under the radar. It was a Van Halen 1984, I think, is that the album year?
I'm not sure.
I'm obviously not that huge of a fan. It was a shirt that was a friend of mine's, and I just really liked it because it was that like special level of soft T-shirt that fits just right, and I just really liked it. I didn't really care about the band, but not that I don't like them, but whatever. Right. Anyway, the captain, honed in on it. This was like day 2, so like that special type of scared that I said we all were. Like they brought us in like our first meal because I'm still in my civilian clothes. They parade you into this gigantic cafeteria, and you get a tray and go sit and eat. It couldn't have been the first day, because why would I have known? I don't know. It was early on, and it had to be more than the first day, because what I was getting yelled at was something I wouldn't have known if it was the first day. Oh, okay. So we're sitting in there eating, and she comes over and starts asking me about my shirt, and she's like asking me if I could name like 3 songs, like to prove I was a real fan or something. And I was like, do you realize I would have been like 3 when this album came out? Like, no, I wasn't at this show. That's not a good story. I don't know why I told that.
Was that your answer to her?
Yeah, I couldn't name 3 songs. Hot for Teacher. I don't even know if I could now. Piano, whatever. But I'm not great at that game anyway, if it was a band I liked. But no, I wasn't. I just told her I didn't know any, and this obviously was, like, this wasn't I wasn't at this show. That's not where I got this shirt, because I would have been 3 years old, so that makes no sense. But yeah, that was my answer to her. I told her that. And then she hated me for the duration of the 6 weeks. And she picked on me a lot. She did. I got a lot of respect for that lady. She made me a better person. But she did pick on me a lot. I probably shouldn't have been a smartass about Van Halen, thinking back. But she's the reason. We did a 2-mile run for like the end of it to see where you qualify. And she ran it with me, and she's like super good at it. And so I finished it there was only, I think, 2 of the guys in our brother flight, and 1 female beat me. Other than that, I was like, so I guess 4th out of like 120 people.
Wow.
Because she ran right next to me and made me keep pace with her.
Wow.
She could have done it faster, I'm sure. But I couldn't. But my story about her picking on me, though, is pretty funny. This is where I got kind of caught up, because I was in uniform for this, but it was just a different interaction with the same lady. And leaving the cafeteria. So, like, everybody, like, it's a big room of folks. So, but all the people going through basic are at all these little tables here, and then the captain and the drill sergeants were at like a rectangle, like kind of like if you were at a wedding, they'd be the head table, right? They sat up there. So when I was leaving, you have to walk kind of past them to go out the doors. So I walked up and walked out, and she yelled my name to have me come back in. So like the whole room got real quiet, because everybody's scared and they heard a captain yelling, right? So I'm just happy they're not getting yelled at, so they stopped to watch. But so I turned around and come back in, and she yelled at me to turn back around and go out. So I did, and she yelled at me to turn back around and come back. And like, I'm now like so embarrassed, because this whole room of people are watching me, and I have like absolutely no idea what's wrong with this woman or why. That Mario game with the dog that went back and forth and you shot and it kept turning back around. That I kept thinking, like, this is what I am now. Like, what is this woman doing? And I don't understand her purpose. And I hate this game. Like, I just want to leave the cafeteria. I really do. And like all she wanted, like she ended up like, she's like, are you ever going to do a facing movement? Like she wanted me to turn around like you're supposed to. And I just kept turning around like a person, like the dog in Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh my God, why did you not tell me that's what you needed? I would have done that a long time ago, right? But, you know, good times,
Yeah.
right?
Where did you go? So boot camp was 6 weeks, you said?
Yeah, in San Antonio, Texas.
Where did you go after boot camp was over?
To Biloxi, Mississippi. I went in. So the career field I went into was tech control, and that was where it's 3C2, 3-1 is what you, or 0-1. Well, who cares? 3C2. And I want to say tech school is 16 weeks long in Biloxi. That sounds right. I got my appendix taken out while I was there, though, so I was there a little bit longer than that. Tech school is like the step between the real world and basic training, kinda, right? So you are still kind of in training and you get yelled at all the time and you don't really have your own free time very much. You kind of like progress through phases. So it's like from basic, like you step through the phases to eventually get to normal life again, right? Like, because, so you train, like we do physical training in the mornings, and then you'd go to class for the day, and you live in, or I guess I lived in, they're kind of like hotel rooms with, like you share a kitchen, and we both had our own bedrooms, but you shared a kitchen and bathroom, so like adjoining hotel rooms is kind of what we lived in there.
So did it get a little bit better at tech school than it was in boot camp then?
Tech school is just way more lenient. Like you have way more privileges. You have to keep your room very clean, and you're still like on government property, and everything is there, so you need to keep it very neat and clean and in order. But there's, like they still do the room inspections and things like that, but you have some free time at night, and you get to change out of your uniform. We did for, you're supposed to. Right after I got there is when, all right, I'll just tell this story. So after basic ended, we got on a bus and they take you to tech school. So everybody's like in their civilian clothes and all excited that basic ended. I think we were in civilian clothes, maybe not. But, and we stopped at this like K&W, one of those cafeteria type restaurants. And there was a little convenience store next to it, and like half the people on the bus ran over to the convenience store to get cigarettes because nobody had been able to smoke for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I was one of those people. I was super hyped to start smoking again. And then they got taken away again at tech school, so it wasn't really worth it. I threw away a lot of cigarettes then.
Was tech school intermixed? Was it male female at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In my classes, it was mostly male. I think the career field's 80% male, or at least it was then. There was only a few girls in the classes, but the base wasn't just for my career field. There was other ones there, so it was a pretty good mix of folks.
What type of tech were you learning?
Where I ended up working was at Schriever Air Force Base, and they do like satellite communications. It's a satellite control network, so we changed crypto keys. We learned how to trace out to look for like any faults, where basically troubleshoot if you lose communication, figure out why. One of the things we learned in tech school, we went over subnet masking, which thank God I never had to apply that in my job because that was rough.
What is that?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like how I'm going to explain this horribly, and people that know this are going to be angry that I got through this class. But like it was 20 years ago, so right. It's how like IP addresses are assigned across the network. So there's 255 bits for I think 4 of them. So it has to do with the base 2 how like each number can be a 0 or 1, right? Mm-hmm. So it's how to represent them. Man, I remember learning binary and that, and I don't know. Because I think it's like something with, there's 255 bits per one. I don't know, man.
Sounds complex.
Yeah, no, and I feel like I'm getting too nervous to even think of an answer now because I realize I look like an idiot.
No,
you know, so let's just move on because
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get any better.
Well, I have no idea what that is. So, where did you go after tech school?
Colorado.
Colorado?
Yeah. So I put down, you get to pick a wish list for where once you graduate, you put down like 8 places you would want to go, and hopefully if they can get you there, they'll try to get you there. And I turned mine in with nothing but overseas. Like I wanted to go to Germany or England. I put in all kinds of different places I'd like to go to. And the sergeant I turned it into was like, well, you need to put at least one stateside place just in case they're not offering that, so you can have a pick on there. And I put Colorado, and then that's what I got.
Oh. How'd you like it in Colorado?
Colorado is awesome. It really was cool there. I liked the people I worked for, and I liked the people I worked with. And like, you know, I said, like, being nervous to even do this is because I literally just feel like I had like an IT job. I just wore a different outfit to work. But then I think about, like, I was going to tell this story about something that happened on the base, but I don't want to like give away secrets about the security of the base. So I'm not sure what. Let's just suffice it to say it's not like a typical office building security, right? Like, so, I don't know.
But it sounds like you had a pretty important job. I know you downplay it, which is pretty common amongst vets, but communication is a pretty important aspect of, you know, everything military.
Yeah, no, I get that. And like, I've met a lot of people that have the stories that I wanted to have, or, you know, had the intentions of having. Maybe you don't really want that in retrospect to have happened to you, but and they said thank you. You know, they said they couldn't have done their jobs without it, and they had their opinions where you signed the contract just like we did. And I feel like I was just real disappointed because, so going into basic, I was in it for the school and the free training, and this seemed like a good path for the rest of my life, right? If anything, it's a great resume. Like, it just, and it's cool as shit, right? Like, right. I loved being a part of team sports. Like, it's a pretty badass team to be, like, I was just intrigued by the whole, I wanted to be in. And then when September 11th happened, that was like day 2 at tech school. So a lot of us, like, our families had just come to our basic graduation. So a lot of people had family that were flying. So we all got called in the day room and knew that planes had went down, but we didn't know like whose or where, or was our families in it or anything. And there was, you know, there's only so many phones. I don't think we can call out. We immediately went into a threat con level. But so like, you come right out of basic, like, pretty like brainwashed, hoorah, like all about it, right? Give me a gun and send me somewhere. And then maybe my, like, people's family, like, you know what I mean? Like, this happened now, right at, and like, I wanted to go somewhere then, like, enough training, I'm ready.
Right.
And then, like, we got through the training and got sent to Colorado, and in Colorado, like, I was still ready to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, you think about it, like, I feel bad when people like say want to talk to you about being a veteran. Like, I don't really have a story to tell you that's, I went and hung out in Colorado, right? Like, that's what I did.
Well, I think to most people, you went to Colorado to serve your country.
Yeah, no, like, I'm super proud of it. It's like the best thing I did in my life, for sure. I'm very proud I did it, and it means a ton to me. I just like got very nervous and like why do you want to hear my story, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because I feel like I don't have one, and I feel like I'm being super boring.
Well, it's been incredible thus far. I'm telling you, I'm enjoying listening to your story. I'll tell you that. It's been
Really?
incredible. I promise you, I'm not. I promise.
Because I can hear me, and this is not good stuff.
Oh, it's great. Are you kidding me? It's absolutely wonderful. I've had to do very little talking because you've got a lot to say, and it's amazing. It's super amazing. I'm curious because I know nothing what it's like being a female in the military at all, and I've heard a lot of different stories, but I'm curious on what your experience was like and how you were treated at your time in Colorado.
Okay. I actually kind of feel pretty strongly about that. I was fine. I was great on my crew. I didn't have any problems as far as like people treating me poorly or any sexual issues. We have BERT tests that are kind of heavy to carry around to test for, and the guys would offer to carry them for me. And then like, oh, should we not offer to carry them for you because you're a girl here? Or like society has always told us to offer to carry them for you. So like, am I a dick for carrying it or a dick for not carrying it? You know, you pick. But one of the things that she was a master sergeant, I want to say, that took us to, she was all about like being females in the military. And I feel like if you would just let it be like people that made accomplishments instead of saying like this female did this. Like, I don't know, I feel like that draws attention to it. Like, you don't say a man accomplished this and like woohoo, like right. Just like let it be a person's accomplishment, and it's pretty cool if you could get there. Like, why does it, I feel like when you draw attention to it, it makes it worse, right? Like that's perpetuating the problem. Because now everybody's thinking about the fact that it's a female that did it, or like, right? Like you wouldn't say, like a gay person did this, or a Catholic person did this, or I don't know.
Yeah.
We went to a speech that was like a captain. She was like so proud of herself about being the first female that did something. And I feel like that's what, like, you just turned the whole speech into being about being a girl. Like, you should have talked about what you did and, like, how hard you worked and what that story was like. You know, like, when you were staying up till midnight trying to figure out what the hell subnet masking was so you could at least pass a test the next day. I mean, obviously not well enough to remember it 20 years from now, right? But you see my point? Like, I wish she would have talked about that and told the whole group about, you know, figuring out how to run the 2 miles in 15 minutes if that, you know, instead of 18 or whatever your goal is. Like, that mental, how you get there. Like, do you stand in front of a mirror and hype yourself up? Or, like, talk to me about that, because that's what I'd rather hear from any person that has accomplished something, is how did you get there, not about how, like, you know, something you were born with you couldn't even control. That wasn't even your choice. So, like, I don't know, I guess I was, like, how were you treated as a person in the Air Force? Did I just get offended for no reason? I don't.
No. You know what? I'm like I said, I'm clueless of what it's like. You know, and I know that you're saying.
I feel like I got on a soapbox a little bit,
though.
No,
not at all. Tell me, Elizabeth, did you get promoted at all while you were in the Air Force? Or
yeah, I actually got promoted early. I was pretty proud of that. It was they call it below the zone. I got to put on senior airman. I think it was 6 months early. You just have to. So all my supervisor reviews, I got Firewall 5. So that means, I don't know, I guess it was 1 out of 5 because 5 was the best you could do. So if you got Firewall 5s, then you did the best you could do on a review. And it was like, I was real anal about making sure my uniform looked good all the time. So that's why I seriously, like to this day, don't want to iron anything ever again. But I did a lot then. So like if you want to keep your uniform, like you want to crease down the front of your pants and down the side, so you iron a lot and use a lot of starch so it stays that way all day long, even if you sit in it. So like I would try to not sweat in my uniform all the time so I could just wear the same one instead of having to launder it so you wouldn't have to redo it. So I had like non-sweaty like uniform days, right? And then I had one that like if I'm gonna sweat in it and get dirty, like this is the uniform I put into circulation that day.
Mm-hmm. I get it. What rank did you promote up to?
I got out when I was a senior airman. I tested for staff, but I was already, like I'd already got my separation was already approved, so I didn't want to, they only promote so many people. It was called like line items, I think is how, if you got a line, or line number meant you got to get promoted, and there was only so many of them. So they had me go take the test anyway because I was there and supposed to do it, and just put C's on them so I wouldn't score good, right? Because I knew I was getting out, so why get promoted? It's not like I was in long enough to and retire from it that it would have mattered. So it would probably just taken somebody else's line number.
How much time did you serve?
It was just under 4 years because I actually signed for 6. Well, you have to be in for at least 3.5, I think, for the GI Bill. I don't remember. Maybe it was closer to 4 years. July of 2001. Oh, anyway. Our career field was overmanned was the answer to your question. So they offered early separation too. If anybody in the career field wanted it, you could opt for it. And I was in long enough to get the GI Bill, so I opted for it.
Once you got out, have you utilized the GI Bill since you've been out?
Yeah, I did. I used my whole entitlement. I had my master's degree in criminal justice, and then I had like a little bit, like some more money left after, was it Chapter 33 was signed in? I don't remember exactly how this worked, but I got another 1-year certificate in database systems. But yeah, it was awesome. I got my bachelor's in business administration. I finished that, and then got my master's in criminal justice because I wanted to get into crime analysis. Like I'm real interested in criminal behavior and people's behavior in general. So I wanted to study that. And after that, I got a job with the police department here in Roanoke, with the city police department, as a crime analyst for them. Wow. I did that for like 3.5 years, and then moved back to Ohio for a while. Yeah, that was a cool job.
Yeah.
So what that entails is, like, you read all the police reports, and you can go on ride-alongs if you want with the officers. So basically, you're trying to figure out how to proactively position officers, or try to prevent crimes if you can before they happen, or at least predict where something might happen. Or you could, we looked at reevaluating like where the district lines were, so you wouldn't have like natural barriers, right? You don't want to get stuck on the wrong side of the train tracks trying to respond to something. So basically, you didn't ask me what crime analysis was, did you? I'm just talking.
No, I love hearing it. I know exactly what it entails, but I like you to tell everybody else what it entails, because I was
right. That's
told
why
you I was in law enforcement, and I know how important crime analysis is to be able to fix certain pockets of cities that are bad.
Yeah, I'm really proud of the work I did with the department. I had a really amazing captain that we worked on some very cool projects. It was a lot of fun for work, right?
Sounds like you're very service oriented. I mean, you went to serve your country, and you got out and started continuing service to others still, in public safety.
Yeah. Well, I was an analyst, not an officer. I was not that gung-ho, right? I mean.
Yeah, but
They're the ones.
For an officer to do a good job or be able to impact the community, you're a very intricate part of that process by letting the department know where it is police officers need to focus at, like, hey,
Yeah.
stop patrolling over here because there's been a lot of auto theft break-ins in this area and these blocks right here, so we need to hit it hard. And you're the reason why we would form task force and details to hit a specific area to try to eliminate that problem.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the common theme here is I'm a behind the scenes kind of person for
Behind the scenes, but
I guess,
very,
right?
Yeah.
It kind of seems that way.
Behind
I never really thought about that before, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but anyway, the IT training from the military helped me with that though, because like trying to search through the databases and stuff to find out where things happened. Like you have to have an understanding of how databases are set up. So, like how many different ways could an officer put in, like 32 West Main Street or something, right? Like the numbers, spell out the numbers, abbreviate things. So you want to try to use like different Boolean cues and get a better search result. So I wanted to learn more about how they were built to know how to query them better. And that led me into wanting to go into like database administration, which is more what I do now. And there's more money in the private sector than there was working for like a local law enforcement, right? Because they're constricted to the city budget. So
So I'm curious if you wouldn't mind giving some, like, what would you say to somebody that's thinking about maybe serving their country and joining the military today? To me, listening to your story, it sounds like you were a leader from a young age, like, playing softball, volleyball, getting into the Air Force, becoming a dorm leader for the entire time of boot camp. What would you say to somebody that's anticipating on going into the military on how to be mentally prepared for it?
I would definitely recommend doing it. Like I said, I'm very proud that I did, and I feel like it served me well for the rest of my life. Like, for, like, as far as, like, punctuality and just, like, work ethic. Like, don't show up 20 minutes late because it's snowing. Like, you knew it was calling for snow, so get up earlier, right? Like, that, I feel like you can tell that in other people, too. When people I work with or folks I've interacted with, sometimes you can just tell if that's either in you or it's not. So I would recommend everybody to do a couple years because it makes you realize like you're not special. You're not the company can work without you.
Right.
It'll be fine. You're a person, but be the best at that person. So I don't know, do one day at a time, get through basic, right? Because that sucks.
Right.
But it's worth it, and it's retrospect, it's 6 weeks. It's not that long. It feels like it is while you're there, but it's really not. And you saw me smiling about talking about it, so it's obviously not that bad. I made it through it, and life went on.
Feeding off that point, I know I talked to you a little bit about, before we started this on how, once you start talking, you might get into a flow, and I totally noticed you in the zone and maybe reliving those special moments back in boot camp. Starting to wrap this up right now. How did it feel? We're pretty much done, but how we're done. How did it feel to be sitting up there and talking about it?
When I had a story in mind that I knew where I was going with, I felt better about it. I feel like I should have prepared myself better, rehearsed what I was going to talk about so I could have got the timelines right instead of stumbling over it so much, which that's my bad. I didn't really know what to expect. Maybe run somebody through in the future. If I would have had a better idea of what I was going to say, I might have done it a little different, but I don't know. I guess.
Well,
the story's the story, right? That's what
yeah.
happened in my life.
And it's perfect. It was perfect, and I think when you rewatch it, you're gonna see how amazing it is. Because I mean, when you were describing these moments in boot camp and stuff, you had a smile from ear to ear, and like it's almost like you weren't even paying attention to us. You were just like in the zone, reliving that moment in boot camp and all these special stories that.
I think it's an adrenaline thing, right? Like you remember what it felt like to be there, and
Yeah.
I feel like my adrenaline was going a lot while like the whole time, right? You're just like hyped up and like hyper alert and hyper scared of getting in trouble. So you pay super attention, like, so I think maybe that's why you look back fondly at it, because that's a pretty fun feeling, you know, that rush.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we cut the tape, do you have anything further to say, or?
No, I don't know what else to say.
You don't. That's perfectly fine. I just like to give everybody opportunity. So, I just like to thank you for your service. I appreciate it, and the community appreciate it. There's a lot of people that appreciate you out there. So, thank you for being here, because by you doing this, it's gonna. I know you don't think so right now, but you're gonna see.
I kept trying to keep in mind what I said to you, that like when I was 16 or 17, if someone was doing videos like this then, like I would have liked to have watched somebody talk about how they got there. So I tried to, but it's hard to, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. You're humble.
I'm still, yeah.
You're humble, and
this is here.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's it.
I tried.
Thank you for your service, Elizabeth. Appreciate it.
Sure, thanks.
Push it to the limit, I can't go no more. Red light, no way, I'm coming back home. Long dirt road.